Formation of parts, replication of the genome. We don't know, but we know it works somewhere. Why is that? Because cyclophilin inhibitors can stop replication of SARS-CoV-2. Cyclophilin A is a protein around 18 kilodalton, and also is referred as PPL, peptidyl prolyl isomerase A, and there is good concentration of it in the cytoplasm between 0.1 to 0.4%. So much of it, and so SARS-CoV-2 won't be shortage of this protein. And interestingly enough, we can find it in all tissues. Several studies have shown that Cyclosporine A can inhibit cyclophilins, all of them, cyclophilin A, B, C, D, or E. And here we have a molecular modeling showing that how cyclosporine A can inhibit or form a complex with cyclophilin D. Two independent studies showed that cyclosporine A can inhibit SARS-CoV-2. These are in vitro studies. The IC50 concentration, i.e. 50% inhibitory concentration, is between 0.24 to 3.3 micromole, i.e. a very potent inhibitor of SARS-CoV-2 replication. So at low concentration, it can inhibit SARS-CoV-2. Cyclosporine A can save COVID-19 patients' lives. There was a clinical trial used cyclosporine A as tablets, and cyclosporine A itself is an immunosuppressant. In this clinical trial, patients started at 300 milligrams of the drug per day. They increased the dose until the serum concentration of cyclosporine A was between 83 and 373 nanomole per liter. About 50% of patients using cyclosporine A survived, but 30% of patients that they didn't take this medicine, they died. 50% died, those that they took, but 30% died, those that they didn't take. However, this high level of cyclosporine came with a price. It had a severe renal function, so it brought acute renal failure. And so there is an alternative approach that how about we provide cyclosporine A as an inhaler. Just give you some information about cyclosporine A. It is a circular peptide, molecular weight around 1200 Dalton. And this is basically the sequence of 11 peptides, 11 amino acids. And interestingly enough, this circular peptide is soluble in ethanol, 200 milligrams per ml, with log P of 7.5, showing that it has a good hydrophobic properties. Just to tell you that cyclosporine A was discovered in 1970s by Sandoz. Cyclosporine, cyclosporines, including cyclosporine A, they are natural products. They come from fungi. And one of them is this Tolypocladium inflatum gams. And this drug, relatively low-cost drug, is produced in bioreactors. So it is definitely a natural product. Years back, cyclosporine A was tested as inhalation therapy for patients with lung transplant. So we have a data that cyclosporine A can be tolerated in people during inhalation. And the outcome was that the patients taking cyclosporine A as inhalation, they have better survival. This drug was dissolved in propylene glycol at the concentration of 62.5 milligram per ml. However, the propylene glycol is irritant. Before propylene glycol, cyclosporine A was dissolved in ethanol. As I told you, it is soluble in ethanol. And nebulized ethanol solution was given to patients. That ethanol was quite irritant and brought so much of a cough. So as a result, ethanol was replaced with propylene glycol. Although the number of coughs reduced, but there was cough for about 40% of patients. To prevent cough in this medication, patients were given nebulized lidocaine, anesthetic, and salbutamol sulfate, albuterol, just to prevent coughing. Now, to prevent this, years back, around 2004, inhaler of cyclosporine was developed. And we were fortunate enough to see that cyclosporine is soluble in HFA or with a little bit of ethanol with the concentration of 1.5% weight per weight. This is 15 times more than Ventolin concentration, i.e., we can give a lot of drug, enough to suppress COVID-19 in the lungs using this inhaler. So we have a lot of drug in the canister. And the idea of developing PMDI cyclosporine was to be used in patients with lung transplant. Following that, a DPI, dry powder inhalation, was developed. And for formulation scientists, it is interesting to know that they dissolved cyclosporine in methanol and porous particles were made. FPF, i.e. fine particle fraction, was about 50%, meaning that 50% of the inhaled dose will go to the lungs. About of the size of the particles, they were around 1 micron. And you can see that this is back to 2013. However, the inhalation of cyclosporine A didn't come to the market, mostly because of the financial issues. Because we have only 600 lung transplants per year worldwide. This is not high enough to convince a pharmaceutical company formulate an inhaler. Now, just to tell you that SARS-CoV-2 basically, when it goes into the lungs, it goes to the alveolar level and targets type 2 cells. And when these type 2 cells, they burst, it brings a scar, it release cytokines, and we see that cytokine storm and all those allergic reactions. Amongst inhalers, only ultrafine solution PMDIs are able to penetrate into the lungs at high concentrations. Here we have two PMDI, pressurized bitter dose inhaler, one suspension, one solution. And you can see that this is a gamma scintigraphy images, and you can see that there is so much of a drug depositing at the alveolar level. And we are fortunate enough that to have Cyclosporine A as ultrafine solution PMDI. So the product is there. However, these studies they did back in 2004, 2013. Since then, if regulatory requirements have improved, so we need to do a little bit of a regulatory studies, and these including adding dose counter to inhalers, studying leachables and extractables, and doing single dose fine particle mass. So in conclusions, Cyclosporine A can inhibit SARS-CoV-2 at low concentrations. So Cyclosporine A has saved lives of patients with COVID-19. Oral doses of Cyclosporine A have serious side effects. Cyclosporine A inhalation has been tolerated in patients. We have both PMDI, DPI formulations of Cyclosporine A developed, papers published. Only thing that we need to do to check this medicine is do a couple of regulatory studies and test it in patients with COVID-19. Well, you may ask that, well, the vaccination is going to end to COVID-19. However, this coronavirus started to visit us, sorry to say, on a regular basis. It's we had it on 2003, 2013, we have it now. So at some point, we need to have this medicine checked, available, just in case. Any questions? I think they are come at the end.
Thank you.